Don't threaten us, Megan.
We are live. Way to start, MaryJanice.
Not everything's fine, if you were wondering. Welcome.
Coming out the gate strong.
Welcome to Fantasy versus Reality, you guys, with Staying In with Bouchet. We are trying to do lives every week with these amazing authors to come in and to give some of their time to speak to you guys. Someone says, who are we threatening?
Nobody! Stop looking at us.
All of us.
But I'm Megan. I'm one of the co-owners of Bouchet. This way.
I am Taylor. I work with Bouchet in marketing and author outreach, and I am happy to introduce you guys today to some amazing authors. Let's start with MaryJanice. If you want to introduce yourself and blurb your books, that would be
Well,
awesome.
I would never disagree with you, so yes, I am amazing. And I feel, if anything, you've undersold me, and I'm a little resentful of that now.
Sorry.
Janice Davidson. Incredibly, I'm a New York Times bestselling author. I turned my rampant immaturity into a nice living, so that's working out for everyone. But anyway, I've mostly paranormal romance, and I'm here to talk about bears behaving counterclockwise, right? So it's like my stage left. And then in 2 weeks, my first historical fiction comes out, a contemporary asshat at the court of Henry VIII, which I'm very excited about. So we're going to talk books and just be awesome together, because that's the rule.
Awesome. Amanda?
All right. And we'll go down to Abigail Owen next.
Oh, okay.
It's like a brain crunch credits. Right, here's the story. And I'm looking down at Abigail.
So hi, Abigail Owen. I am an award-winning paranormal romance author. I'm going to be talking about, let me grab it, The Rogue King. I just want to pet that cover.
Oh, I love that cover.
And I've got the covers for the next two also, so that's fun. But I am a big Star Wars geek. I live in Texas. I am a huge chocoholic, and anything Princess Bride quotes is always good in my world. So nice to meet you.
Marriage.
And then this way and down is Amanda Bouchet.
On the left. Is France on the right?
That's not where you're coming from.
France is stage right.
I'm Amanda Bouchet. I'm nowhere near as funny as these other ladies, so I don't have any good one-liners for you. I live in France. I'm a USA Today bestselling author. I started with my first series, The Kingmaker Chronicles, which I'm trying to get in the picture there, The Promise of Fire. And that is based on Greek mythology in a fantasy world with magic and battles and dragons and lots of exciting stuff. And my second book in my new series just came out. This is the Night Chaser series, and Starbreaker just came out this week. And this is what I call my Robin Hood meets Star Wars romance. And it's
That's awesome.
lots of exciting, high-octane action, and, of course, the steamy romance, which we all love.
I would like to disagree with your no humor, because someone with humor has to have made chat, okay? Somebody has to have.
I think I'm funnier in my writing than I am in real life. But thank you. I appreciate that.
All right.
And you can actually grab Night Chaser and Starbreaker in our Maybox, which we still have a couple left of, if you want to go to bakery.com.
These two.
Oh, and Abigail, I noticed your own books on your bookshelf, so you lose points for that.
Yeah, but I bet you want to stare at that.
You mean
Yeah, I want that on my bookshelf.
On inspiration, I look to the left. There it is with the inspiration.
Yes.
Oh, sure, but when I paper my entire dining room with my own work, I'm the egotist.
Okay, you guys. So we are going to start with a little bit of a icebreaker game, and we're going to be playing Build Your Own Mini Romance. Okay. So the way we'll do this is we'll give you the question, and then we can go in order how we were doing MaryJanice, Abigail, and Amanda, just so we can, make sure we can all understand each other. So first, we're going to be choosing our romantic interest, and we have 3 options for you guys, okay? So we have the hunky private investigator with tons of sarcasm. We have the sweet and nerdy business owner, and we have the firefighter with a tight-knit family.
I'm sorry, the firefighter has a tight what?
Knit family.
Oh, the first
You may
one,
have tight other things.
if that's the tight thing. Yeah, definitely got to go with the sarcastic guy.
I was going to say the nerdy business owner. I'll go with the majority.
Yeah, I'm with the sarcastic guy too. I like the sarcastic heroes. With you.
I have a sarcasm. I do.
I think it's telling us we have no interest in like the guy who can literally save our lives. We're like, is he sarcastic?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great lover, but is he sarcastic? Great. We're gonna go with him. Sorry, fire guide. Just you keep your number is 911 and we'll be in touch.
So what does this sarcastic guy do again?
He's a private investigator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have to write this down because my mind is stiff.
Yeah, and then we, are they a little bit mean to me? Just a little bit. They've got to be mean just a little bit.
Just a little.
Oh,
Grumpy.
no.
Just generally grumpy.
No, I'm the one who gets to be mean, and my heroine's the other one who gets to be mean. So no, we don't put up with that at all. So, in real life, it's withering sarcasm and scorn, and in my books, it's shotguns and poison.
Love it. All right, so you find out that your hero is a shapeshifter. What do they turn into? And y'all can all pick something different if you want to.
Oh, okay. I'm dragons. I'm gonna take dragons off the top. That's what I've got in my books. So
Yeah.
dragon.
Ocelot. Wear Ocelot.
I like
All
it.
right. I'm over here like,
Oh my.
We left you plenty to choose from.
Yeah.
Pick 2.
Well,
Ocelot is taken. Ocelot is taken.
I'll go classic. I'll go with the wolf.
There we go.
Perfect.
can't go wrong with the wolf.
Hey, can't go
Yeah.
wrong with the wolf.
Cannot go wrong with those.
All right. Well, why does the romantic interest get fancy magic? Everyone gets magic. So you can all be granted with magic, but you can only do one thing with that magic. What would it be?
Ooh. Our hero and our heroine can do magic, or who can?
The heroine.
Oh, the supernatural ability to see through male bullshit. Power I would gift to her.
That'll work well with the sarcastic hero.
It's armor. It's basically armor against that sort of thing. So that's what I'm thinking with.
I'm gonna go classic, and I can't decide between teleporting and healing. I think I'm gonna go healing.
That's a good one.
That's going to be good with the dragon, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Teleporting, so I'll just do that.
Mutual hazardous injury.
I would get so much more done if I could teleport. It's getting out of the house that's the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Actually,
teleport.
instant
It's called
hair
my
and makeup.
sword escape.
Oh, Insta makeup. That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way I get out of the house faster, is if this happened immediately.
Yes, glamour. That's it. Glamour. Glamour in here.
And plus, dealing with the dragon can't be worse than dealing with, TWA. So
They warn you out of this. You go. It's good. You get wind blown. It's fine.
All right.
So you realize you're being hunted by people that want to capture your shapeshifter. You get to request the help of one Greek god or goddess. Who are you asking for help?
should I go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Yeah, the smart one, Athena. Besides, I feel like if you went to Zeus, he'd be so busy turning himself into an animal so he could bang some unsuspecting mortal. I feel like a lot of stuff would get overlooked in my rescue. So I'm going with the Athena.
Perfect.
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with Hephaestus. He makes things. He's a solution guy.
That is.
I like it. Outside the box. I love it.
It's telling that that speed is what does it for you when it comes to, which that's fine. I like them to take their time, but that's just me.
A lot of things are fast. It would be hot because there's, you know.
You mean like wise? Because that would be hot, but like lethally hot.
Well, no, but I'm thinking like he could make all the weapons and things that you would need to defend yourself. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, I would have gone with Athena, but since I'm last in this threesome here.
Oh, I had a time every time I heard that.
So I will go with Artemis. She's wily and strong and great with a bow. And if someone is hunting with a wolf, then I need someone who's good with weapons.
She's my favorite. She's always been my favorite. She kicks ass.
She does.
Artemis.
I love how she's, you know, associated with the moon too. I just find that really magical.
And do we think that with these gods' helps, do we think that the other characters would have survived this ordeal with this god's help? Because as we've seen in some books, some gods are a little finicky when they want to help out.
Yes. Well, I think they should all band together, and then we would definitely kick some butt.
That would.
Yeah. I like that story.
Yeah. All the authors, you can do that if you'd like.
I like that.
Oh God, they're teaming up.
You know, they'd be backstabbing each other and bad mouthing each other behind, you know, their backs on Mount Olympus, even as they kind of work together, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe. Or you know, it's counterproductive, and you put them together, and they're like, "Haha, let's pick on these mortals." How?
You start rolling that water up the hill, and you try to drink, but then the water drains away.
Yep.
I feel like my hero and heroine would be banging by now and would not care about the outcome. So I'm going with this.
So long as we get there, we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So let's be brutally honest. So they're going to just let things work themselves out and bang.
All right, so we are going to move on to the next round of questions. Let's start with Amanda this time and go the other way. What would your characters be doing during quarantine?
Which book series do I?
You can do either.
Pick one.
I'm going to go with Kat and Griffin and Beta Team from the Kingmaker Chronicles. What would they be doing during quarantine? Well, I'm sure that they would be wreaking havoc, even in a small area. They'd probably be training with weapons. Well, because they'd all be together because they're a family unit, right? So they wouldn't have to be social distancing from each other. I'm sure they'd be training and working magic spells and maybe coming up with some potions to keep themselves safe as the world, you know, goes berserk around them.
I'd love to just see them being forced in an actual house for this long. Like,
oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
That would just overwhelm everyone.
No, this is your trailer. This is your 1,200 square foot trailer, and we will see you in 7 weeks. That's going to be.
Sure her hair would be a mess because that's what she's cat. It's just like my hair.
That's too many big personalities stuff.
She's always getting bloody or, you know, falling in water or mud or whatever. So it's just like, you know, always a problem. Maybe she should be cleaned up because, you know, she can't leave the house.
Yeah. Abigail?
So I'll go with my dragon shifters. The good news about the dragon shifters is that they're impervious to disease for the most part, and so they wouldn't have to worry about the quarantine. My guess is they're in the middle of a big war. Which king is going to be the king, basically? And so I'm guessing that they're going to take advantage of all the humans being cooped up, and much like the animals taking over the cities, they're going to be taking they're going to be taking advantage of having them all indoors at the moment. The only problem would be all the dragon shifters get their mates from human women, and so they'd be worried about their human women. So there's there we go. That's the crossover series, is the Fire's Edge series. And so I think they would, those poor women, until they turned into dragons, would have to be confined to they live in mountains, inside the mountains. So they'd be confined to the mountains. They'd be missing blue skies.
I'd love to see them actually try to keep the sisters in the mountains, though. I'd love to see that. Yeah. Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the body count on that could probably be triple figures in no time, like within 5 minutes.
But maybe they could figure it all out without this, all those humans in the way.
But Abigail makes a really good point about the animals coming. They're seeing fish in the Venice canals again.
Yeah.
For probably the first time in 100 years. And I don't know how to feel about that. On one hand, I'm happy for the wildlife, but we're not going to be doing this forever. Yeah. And so I guess we're just going to go back to, oppressing the hell out of them and using up all the resources they need. So I don't really know how to feel about, or like the pictures where like the pollution is lightened up incredibly.
Yeah. And you can actually see skylines. Yeah.
Killed me about how terrible we are as a race and how
Yeah. We're like locusts.
Yeah. Sexy, but yeah, locusts still sexy, sensual, erotic
locusts. Okay.
Well, this actually ties into my Shifter series.
Well,
they have their own.
Our bears behaving badly.
They have their own version of the Ku Klux Klan, and the party line is because there's the Shifters. It's like less than 2% of the population, but their point is, it's not to rule the world, but humans have kind of been in the driver's seat long enough. So so during this pandemic, they'd be shifting, but this would be another mark against humanity. And it's just like, we really need to take the planet back, and they can have it back when they grow up. And it's just, I don't know. Wow, this really took a serious downturn, which is not like me at all. A total lack of booze in my life right now.
I was debating showing up with a glass of wine because it is after 8 o'clock.
Right. I know. I'm able to watch it.
It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
We're having
I considered it too.
There is fruit in the vodka smoothie, probably.
That counts. That's healthy.
Thank you. So much better. If you hear the blender going, just ignore it.
We're all waiting with mimosas, and Amanda's having hard alcohol for the
I swear to you, it is a glass of water.
Sure. And because all my clear fluids are not gin. So
you got it.
So to get back to the question, I guess, is they would be shifting, and they would be disgusted all over with how we're wrecking things. So,
all right.
So sorry to harsh everyone's buzz.
All right. Next question we have, starting with Amanda, is if you could shift into any animal, what animal would you like to shift into, and why?
I think I would be some kind of bird. So, because I'd love to fly. But let's make this a good majestic bird, like, I don't know, a peregrine falcon or something. So I'd be really fast and stealthy and grab my prey really.
Vicious.
Can you mime eating your prey, please? I need that in my life.
I'm glad you specified. I mean, bird, you could have been a condor, a vulture.
Peacock.
No, the dreaded peacock. They're fill up with mucus.
Well, I mean, I'd have to be a male peacock to be a fun one. The pretty one. I don't want to be a male anything. So.
But you're still dealing with mucus. How will you deal with your mucus, Amanda?
Who has mucus?
Where did it come from? I just think we're talking about.
What bird has mucus?
They're cloaca. Peacock.
I'll stick with the falcon. I think I'm,
definitely a falcon.
I'm a kick-ass falcon.
Y'all are joking about the peacocks, but this is how I know that I'm in the South, because I have like 7 peacocks that live next door, and it's a constant hey Earl that you always hear.
No way.
They're so loud.
That's awesome.
I'm like trying to do what?
You're talking like this is a normal thing. This is not a normal thing. You're like, oh, all the peacocks, and then the griffins came by, and then the mess, and then the unicorn would not.
A mythological animal, or do we have to choose a real animal there?
Be whatever you want.
Oh, no, I've already done mine, so I'll stick with the falcon. You guys could have something mythological, so that's even better.
Oh, is it me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
So you would think that I would choose dragon because I love my dragon shifters so much, but in writing them, I have learned that they're large, and they don't fit in a lot of places. Like there's, hard to hide, hard to place to land.
They're not like.
Yeah.
Like you can't have like a starlet's little tiny purse and put the dragon in it.
No,
Like,
there's no height. Yeah, I don't have small dragons. Now, if I could be a small dragon, maybe I would think about it. But yeah, because like you got to find a clearing to land at all times, and yeah, they're not subtle. The dragons. I would go something more subtle. I do love the flying because that helps you get places. But I think I would go jaguar. I think those cats are amazing, and they're incredibly good fighters. They have the strongest jaws. I think I read this somewhere of any cat of the various different cats, large or small, and like the bite ratio. That's how they can take down anacondas and crocodiles. So that would be me.
We're all about the claws and the teeth here.
Yeah. What can I say? Yeah.
well, I definitely think you make a good point about the subtlety of dragons in that there is none. Because I don't think someone's like, you know what I like about dragons? The hoarding of the gold and the subtlety. So I don't think anybody's really. And I actually already answered this question. There's only one answer: ocelot. Obviously, I don't even. Why are we even discussing it? Just I don't know. I can only lead you guys by the hand so many times. You're having regrets now, aren't you, Megan? No. You're like 33. I have a problem with 33.33% of this podcast. Like, yeah, warned you.
I can't even envision what an ocelot is. So maybe you need to describe your ocelotness to us.
Oh, it's a cat with tufted ears and just a boatload of attitude.
Aww.
You know, like any cat. Now that I think about it.
Like any cat.
He's definitely a cat person.
Well, and one of the fun things about the Behaving Badly universe is they're not all sexy. There's a werepossum, there's a werebadger, there's a werewolverine, and wolverines have a weird pungent odor. So when they're in their human form, they smell kind of. I mean, so it's not all. I kind of got tired of how everybody's a sexy animal in a lot of these, and I just wanted run of the mill. Where's the were black lab? Where's the werebeagle? So I like to put like fun stuff in there too. So
nice. So who has been your favorite character to create and why?
Are we starting with me again, or
Amanda? Yes, Amanda. Sorry.
who?
Yes,
Amanda.
Sorry. I'm gonna stop.
I feel like the Brady Bunch. You know the opening credits. So this is who's my favorite character to create and why?
Yes.
Okay, well I have to go with Kat because she is just one kick butt, magical, sarcastic heroine. But as strong as she is, she's got this real fragility underneath. And I think that's what makes her so interesting because she comes across, she is strong and she does what she has to do. She's always going to rise to the occasion. But there's so much doubt and fragility inside her that, and it's really the found family and Griffin, her hero, that bring her out of that that internal conflict inside her and you know, her insecurities, and help her to become the person she's meant to be. So I mean, I love all my characters, and I love Tess, my heroine in the Night Chaser series. She's got so many qualities too, and she's also got that balance of she's super kick butt, but she has her insecurities underneath, and I guess that must be what I like to write, and that to balance those two things, I think makes her a really interesting character with depth and potential for such growth as they move into their role in the world and become the stronger and, you know, most well-developed person they're supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot. Nobody likes a Mary Sue. I mean, what's interesting about someone who does everything right?
That's true. And yeah, a lot of times that's interesting with the hero too, because sometimes you'll see complaints, oh, he did this or he did that, and you know, that's no good. But if you don't have a hero or heroine that makes mistakes and can learn from them and then grow and become a better person, then they're not interesting. They're just this flat, one-dimensional character. So sometimes I really like to throw in mistakes, both my heroes and my heroines, because you don't make mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn from them, and you don't, you know, move to the next level.
Is someone listening to rap music in the background?
No,
I do.
I'm like picking up feedback of like.
I am too. Yeah, I don't know what it is though.
It sounded like rap music. I was like, who is
weird.
out?
Like, no.
Where it's coming from.
I check all the windows.
At least I know I'm not crazy. MaryJanice heard it too.
Well, I don't hear rap, but I hear something that isn't the five of us.
And it's also very entertaining to watch be proven wrong. Oh, she's so sassy. So when she has to admit she's wrong, it's just like I hate it too, because I'm a very like headstrong person too. So when Kat has to admit she's wrong about things, I'm like, no, just go with it. Stop.
And she's so resistant. She's like, darn it. Oh man. To admit that I wasn't right about something. Of course she won't, but you know she does, because you're hearing her internal voice. But on the outside, she just keeps up her sarcastic, you know, attitude, which is part of the fun. You know, it's that that disconnect between what's going on inside the head and what actually comes out of her mouth. But as the reader, you know both. So that's fun.
Perfect. All right, Abigail, who is your favorite character to create and why?
So this is hard for me because I tend to what's strongest in my head at the moment is what I'm writing at the moment, and not usually something that I've written, you know, a year or more ago. But I will say that certain characters do stand out more than others. I do love Brand from Rogue King as the hero, and he is just one of those grumpy, sarcastic, you know, doesn't want anybody around him kind of guys. And so I love seeing that arc. But I will have to say, so my favorite so far is probably going to be Skylar, who is going to be the heroine in book 2, which is coming in August. She's a Phoenix. She's Cassia's sister. And Cassia is already pretty kick butt by herself. Like, she's already got the sarcasm and she's pretty feisty and she's there. But I think the difference with Skylar is that she's a combination of zero fear, but that kind of like what Amanda was saying, that turns into, she can make some pretty big mistakes because she just jumps into everything head first. And she trusts no one. And in the back of her mind, her biggest, I guess, conflict is that the 4 Phoenix sisters, their mother, who's been protecting them for hundreds of years, has been killed. And so now she thinks she's the one that's got to protect the sisters because she feels like she's the strong one. She's the one who's going to, jump in. She's the fighter, basically. And so the fact that she feels almost inadequate because she doesn't have the same powers that her mother has. Her power ends up being kind of a funny one that she doesn't think is a useful power at all. She's like, I got the crap power. And so I had a lot of fun putting her. And of course, Layden is the king that she ends up with. And he's he's similar to Brand, still super grumpy, but he's more of a leader, I think, than Brand was at the beginning of the book. And so putting them together and having somebody who basically is in his face all the time when he's been a king for a while and isn't used to people being in his face, that was also a really fun combination just to get those interactions.
I can't wait to see how Layden deals with her, because she seems like she's going to be a hot mess. And I was very...
It's our favorite kind of mess, to be honest.
More.
But I was very intrigued by him throughout the entire first book. And I was like, I love Brand, but I want more about this one. He's going to sneak up on you, because he's like, that is a hot mess, but it's my hot mess.
Well, and I tell you what, I was inspired for him by the John Barenthal Punisher character.
He was,
and so I can't go completely Punisher because obviously he's a king and he's a leader, and so he has to be that. But that's who was in the back of my head when I was writing him, and so
he did such a great job as Punisher.
Oh my gosh, that's
because he looks like a thug who doesn't really know much about anything.
And then you would see these moments where he's just
layered and so
good in that.
He made me a fan of Punisher.
Me too.
I thought he was the least interesting character in that universe.
No, he was awesome,
incredible.
Dynamic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I'll watch him do it. I mean,
we'll see if I succeed in putting that on paper. Yeah.
And we first saw him in The Accountant as Ben Affleck's brother, and I was just like, this guy, because he's
so good.
That's so much.
I love John Barenthal. He's one of my top 5. I'll laminate him on my laminated actors list.
No takebacks.
Yeah, that's the Bug King.
We won't mind having him on our shelves.
There we go.
I think he belongs there. And MaryJanice.
Well, it would be a tie between Betsy the Vampire Queen from my Undead series and Annette Garcia from Bears Behaving Badly. Getting back to what Amanda was saying about flaw, I mean, bring on the flaws is bring them on. So even though Betsy was born because I was so tired of reading vampire romance novels where the vampire was always this 400-year-old Scottish lord who skulked in alleys. And I'm like, where are the plumber vampires? Where are the secretary? How is this even possible? And so Betsy was born, and she's just a bundle of flaws. And she's not the brightest bulb in the wow. She's dumb, not like me. She's not the brightest, and she's vain, and definitely, I'm definitely not blonde like her, and I'm definitely not tall like her. Anyway, she's flawed, and I like that. And the same for Annette Garcia. She's a werebear. She's a social worker in this world where if you have a traumatized 12-year-old werewolf who's been recently orphaned thanks to a car crash or something, you can't just dump them in a regular foster home. It's insane. So there's a parallel foster system set up that the regular humans don't know about. And she's one of the social workers. So it's basically, what if social workers had shapeshifters to worry about? And she's incredibly flawed, and she's overworked, and she's underpaid like every social worker in the world. But she loves food. She sees the good in people. She loves her charges, and don't mess with her and don't mess with her kids, or you'll be counting your broken ribs on the way to the ER.
If you make it there.
Excellent point. Yes, exactly. Well, there's a scene where she's talking about her roommate is saying, well, Annette rescued me. I was getting beat up in this alley behind a sushi bar. Thank God it wasn't a rice cake factory, or I would have died that night, because Annette always wants the raw fish. So so she literally saves lives while she's out scouting for sushi. So that's weird. I should look into my relationship with food more. Anyway, that's for another day.
I love how the kids call her Net too, because
well, her name's Annette, and her fosters call her Net, and it's not just a short. They think of her as their safety net. Oh. And she doesn't know that, which I really liked. And I love Deb, the werefox that's just constantly getting into trouble.
Oh my gosh.
And Deb in the next book. So so like I said, she's got all the hassles of a regular social worker, except with shapeshifters. Oh, is our time up? I feel like I'm in therapy.
As long as he's ready.
Oh, my cake.
All right. So our next question is a little bit more of a simple one. It's when you're writing. When you're writing, what kind of setup do you like to have? Do you like to have snacks, music, a blanket? Do you have a certain way that you like to write to be in the right state of mind? And we start with Amanda.
Me?
The other Amanda in France.
Well, the sound cut out for a second. Well, this is going to be really boring again because I don't like to listen
Thanks for shipping us off first. I'm in a tune out now.
So I like quiet when I work, and I'm not in a good frame of mind to work when there's anyone else around, even if they're not bothering me, because I'm really chatty and social. So but if my kids are in the other room instead of at school, like they have been for the last 2 months, I'll sit down for 5 minutes to work, and then I'll just immediately pop up and be like, hey, and then I'll go talk to them. So it's not that they're distracting me, it's that I can't sit still and concentrate when I'm not alone. So
is something burning? It's fine.
I just always want to get up and do something. So but when I am alone and I can concentrate, I have a big desk, and I have my laptop, which is actually just shoved off to the side, and I have a big monitor because my eyes aren't terrible, but they're not great either. And I feel a lot of strain if I work on the laptop size screen. So I have a nice big monitor, and I blow my Word document up to like 120%. It's like, whoa, my words are so big.
I made the biggest words.
I know. And then it looks like I've accomplished so much because I can't even tell. And so, yeah, I have my monitor, and I have a keyboard and a mouse because, again, I like to have things bigger than just the laptop screen and laptop keyboard. So yeah, and I avoid music at all costs. And if there's someone talking on the street, I grumble at. I mean, I don't actually grumble at them. I grumble.
Hey, you're like a Baptist.
Why are they so loud?
Walk over there.
You know, the whole world needs to leave me alone. But again, I don't like to have headphones on or something. So, so I just, grin and bear it until the people move on. Again, city life. I do very well in some very rural area, except for I need internet. So
you're saying it took a few days for you to notice that people were locked down and staying in one spot?
No, it was wonderful. I was like, it's so quiet.
Stay where you belong.
So I guess I wish I could say, oh, I have playlists and I listen to music while I write, and this inspired me. But really, what I need is quiet and nobody around, and that's the only time.
You're a Baptist when you write. You're no singing, no dancing, no frivolity, no sex.
No, because you know what I do actually? I read out loud to myself. Like I write a paragraph and then I read it to myself. And so if somebody I don't mind if it's just my kids or whatever, but if there was somebody else around, they'd be like, she's possessed, she's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm constantly reading out loud to myself as I'm working. And so I guess that's part of why I like to have it quiet too, because I'm just kind of mumbling to myself the whole time.
No, you
I'm not crazy at all, I promise.
No, I would like to come and visit you in your home. I need to see this set up for myself. I just really would like an invitation to France now. So I really feel like we're missing an opportunity here to not delve into this a little more.
That's why we want to go to France.
That's the only reason.
So it's all good.
No, we're kidding. We found out where you live.
Then I'd be like, shoot, I have to work. Leave me alone.
All right, Abigail.
So like Amanda, I've got a big desk set up with the same big monitor because of the eyes. I have the whole ergonomic mouse, ergonomic keyboard, ergonomic because of my wrists, everything, because I spend so much time typing. And I also have, and this is my favorite part, you can see it back there, my walking treadmill desk. It's a treadmill desk. And so I will walk for an hour while writing, and I actually get the majority of my words for the day while doing that 1 hour because it kind of ties you to one place. It helps me not get up and be distracted by other things.
That's a great idea.
I would never think to do that. That is brilliant. That's really cool.
You just set it at a slow pace so that you're not getting motion sick. Like I can't edit on the treadmill disc, and I also do I do graphic design, so I do book covers and things, and I can't do that on the treadmill disc. But I can write where I'm not necessarily having to pay attention to exactly what's going on the screen because I'm going to go back and edit it again later. So
I would never have thought of that. That's awesome. That's a great idea.
I get in 2-mile walk every single day, and
my God. I have been writing entirely wrong. And it's not the first time I've thought that, by the way.
So I do that. I do listen to music. I listen to the Britney Spears Pandora station, which has kind of 90s, early 2000s music. Yeah. So and if I'm on the treadmill desk, I dance and write and sing at the same time, which I'm sure in my head looks like, OK Go when they did that video where they're on the treadmill and it's all great. But I'm sure in real life, people walking by would just be like, "What is going on?" I do little shimmies, it's fun. Yeah.
I'm always moving too. I'm always shifting from side to side.
Chair.
Yeah, I can't sit. I've got ADD, so I don't sit still well in general. So
You're putting me to
I feel
shame.
like we need a split video of everybody writing now.
Yeah. Abigail's putting me to shame. I work from home and I go through a box of fudge rounds and don't put me down for the cardio.
This has been a fascinating glimpse. I really feel like scientists are going to be studying this podcast 100 years from now. There's some profound shit happening right now. Well, I sit on my ass in the living room in front of the TV, and I eat and I type. The end. My DVR is pregnant with all kinds of cooking shows because I love cooking shows and Simpsons reruns while I'm working, and I have a beautiful office. I'm in my beautiful office right now. I almost never use it for work, and I do 90% of my writing in front of the TV in my living room. It's I'm ashamed.
No, everybody's process is different. But.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I totally get why a lot of writers want to listen to music and it helps get them into it. But I'm just play The Simpsons. That'll be fine.
You know what I do my best with? This is funny. Well, or maybe not. I don't know. But I don't tend to drink during the day or anything. But I try and drink maybe a cup of herbal tea in the afternoon or something. But when it hits, evening, 6 o'clock, 6:30, and I can get my glass of wine without feeling guilty, that's when I do my best work. I don't know why. I sit in my chair and I concentrate and I sip my wine and I work and the words just flow.
Like wine.
There's something, I don't know, Pavlovian about it. You've got that thing that clicks.
on. Yeah.
And the word
wine. Okay, I can actually write and concentrate for a good solid hour now. I don't know what it is about it, but or it's coffee and wine. So coffee and wine, and in between it's all a big blur.
So what we have to do is figure out what time 6 o'clock is for you in France here, and then we can all get our wine regardless of the time and sit and get stuff done.
Well, and you know what? Something I love about what we do for a living, wherever we are, and you look up at the clock and 4 hours are gone. Yeah, and it's the closest thing to time travel I think we have right now because we just fall into our worlds. We fall into our stories. We look up and oh my God, it's 3 o'clock and I forgot about lunch. I mean, I love that about our work. I love that you just don't even sense the time going by. And
sometimes I'll forget to eat if I'm into it like that, like at lunchtime until I start shaking around 3 o'clock. And I'm like, why am I shaking? Why am I shaking? I'm like, oh yeah, I have to eat.
Yeah. I need nourishment.
I will say when you can't fall into it and it's been 4 hours and you look up and you've only written 300 words, then it's a little less.
That's not great. Yeah, that's not as much.
I speaking about drinking while the other day drinking. The other day we were so the virus has caused a lot of issues because we do a lot of shipping. And the other day I worked, I think it was like 13 hours, and I walked in and my husband was like making dinner and I didn't even care. I like made me a drink, which was like, I don't know if y'all have ever had Body Armor, the hydrating fruity drink, but I took one of those because that's all I had. And then I took my flavored vodka and I poured it in one and I said, I'm going to the beach. I went and got my bathtub and told Alexa to turn the beach wave sounds on.
Okay, now give me the recipe again. Body Armor.
Body Armor. It's a hydrating drink, so if you pair it with alcohol,
totally healthy. Yeah.
Ooh.
And the alcohol kills the virus. Like, you gotta,
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and go to the individual questions from here. So we are going to start with Abigail. So you have such a unique take on the phoenixes, with each sister in your series having phoenix blood. How was this idea born, and will we get to see the power of the phoenixes more in the Blood King? And then I even typed this. Okay, this is typed. Side note, I'm so worried about Layden because he is. I wrote Chef's Kiss because he is.
I wondered what the kid, like, because you had sent us the questions.
Oh my God.
I was like, what is that? What kiss is she talking about?
I sent her the chef's kiss because she needed to see it if you forgot to do it.
Kiss. Okay, now I get it.
I wrote the question that I didn't know that she would send my side note.
She deserved to know.
Taylor.
I was like, okay, maybe she misspelled it. Like what? Okay. And thank you. The Phoenix was really fun. So actually, where this entire series came from was a different series of books that I was in the middle of. And I have a series, and now it's been retitled and actually set in the Dragon Shifter world. It's called the Brimstone Series. And that whole series was just supposed to be short novellas where I randomly picked what I thought would be an interesting combination of paranormal creatures and paired them together, and then picked a contemporary romance trope to shove them into, basically, just for fun. And, you know, like the first book was a demigod and a nymph, and she's his executive assistant. And the second book was two alpha werewolves, and it's very Romeo and Juliet, and they're combining their packs. And so this was going to be the fourth book in that series, and it was going to be a phoenix and a PI, essentially. So she keeps lighting on fire, and she doesn't know why, basically. And the PI was going to help her figure out what she was, and that ended up being Brand. And I was like, well, what can I have put with a phoenix? And I was like, phoenix and fire, and oh, dragon shifters, that would be good. Like, that's just kind of, it was one of those like, well, this will be good. I got 10,000 words into writing that thing and was like, this world is huge, and these two characters need a full book. And so instead of being a 30,000 word novella, it ended up being 110,000 word novel.
That's not a novella.
Yeah. And so, and in the meantime, I happened to be in talks with my editor at the time at Entangled, and we were going back and forth on different paranormal ideas. And I was like, what if we take this just out of that world and do something with this? And she loved it, and we went crazy with it. And so that's where the Phoenixes came from. And then from there, I love to look into the lore of any given supernatural creature and see what interesting pieces you can pull into a world. So that's where most of my Phoenix lore comes. And yes, you will see more Phoenix powers. And yes, at the end of the series, it will probably be a big thing.
Oh, they're so cool.
So the next question is for Amanda. Amanda, the Kingmaker's Chronicles is loosely based in Greek myths, whereas Night Chaser has that very Robin Hood meets Star Wars kind of vibe. How do you take like these inspirations and craft these completely unique worlds?
Well, it's funny because I'm not sure I actually know I'm doing it until I'm well into the book. With the Kingmaker Chronicles, I didn't start out wanting to do something based in Greek mythology. I started out with the characters, with Kat, the main character, and her magic and what role she was going to have to play in the world. And as I built the world around her, I decided on Greek mythology and then just went with it because it was close to my heart and I enjoyed it. And I also like the fact that a lot of readers are already familiar with Greek mythology, at least to a certain extent. So instead of having to make up all these gods and creatures and myths, unique to this world, I just inserted Greek mythology into my own world that was completely invented. And it was kind of like a way to streamline everything, right into the action and the characters and the plot, because I didn't have to develop all that mythology, which is already, existent in our world. So I did that, although it was close to the beginning, but the book itself didn't spring from that. It sprang from the characters. And with Night Chaser, I think I was halfway through writing the first book before I realized where my influences were coming from. And it was definitely Star Wars with the big epic missions and the team squad goals and the good versus evil, the light versus dark. I mean, I don't use it in terms of anything like the Force or anything. That's not in my world. But just the main themes of the epic battles of Star Wars, and also set in a space opera setting. So you got zooming around and galactic heists and shoot 'em up space battles, and then the Robin Hood side, space battles. And the Robin Hood side is really the characters, because their mission is to do their best to undermine the evil galactic tyrant who rules the galaxy with an iron and selfish fist. And while they're trying to thwart his evil plans, to provide what they can for the people in need, with medicine or food, things that aren't distributed equitably around our world. Yeah. Well, I mean, our world's in the book, but our world too, that applies. So let's not get too serious, right?
Perfect.
So I think it springs from the characters more than from setting out with an initial vision to incorporate some kind of pop culture or influences from around me, but they're obviously in there and they just come out in their own way as I'm writing.
I love that.
All right, MaryJanice. In Bears Behaving Badly, you weave romance, suspense, the supernatural, found family, and humor together so seamlessly. Can you tell us a bit
about child trafficking?
And child trafficking.
Yes. Can you tell us a bit about your writing process and how you balance all these different threads?
Well, and I love your questions. And it's not like I was expecting hard-ass questions, but these nice questions are like, would you say your success is due to your stick-to-itiveness or how you just never give up? I'm like, oh, well, I am pretty great. My editor is the answer to that question, because I basically all over the page, my prose, and then my editor comes along with her editorial mop and her editorial bucket, and she'll be like, this has to go. This is disgusting, and this is less disgusting. You know what? We're gonna just mop all this up and maybe try it sober next time. Honestly, I have the best editors ever, and they catch many of my mistakes, and and sometimes it is hard to remember to weave everything in. And so that's why getting a beta reader is I think so important for writers trying to break through, because your mom is a crap beta reader. She probably makes the best cookies in the world, but as a literary critic, I guarantee she's lacking. So honestly, I put myself in my editor's hands quite a lot, and I tend to defer to their suggestions. But I just like throwing a lot of things in there, because life is complicated. Life is messy. And when you're a 30-year-old vampire queen and all the vampires are a century older than you are, and you don't know anything about anything, there's going to be problems. When you're an underpaid social worker in charge of all kinds of shape-shifting children, things are going to get messy and hairy and also hairy. So Well, and what I like, I'm getting a lot of the nice reviews are like, this sounds crazy, but this is a hilarious book about child trafficking. And so you really do have to kind of balance humor with the downside as well. And to that, again, I really tend to rely heavily on my editors and their editorial muffin buckets. Now, my husband just came by and unsubtly shut the door. So I'm guessing he's not a fan of my writing as vomit metaphor.
You need privacy.
Hey, everything's under control here before you ask. And again, I am wearing underpants. So.
All right.
So our next question is for Abigail. Abigail, I saw you used to be a competitive skydiver, which is really cool. I could never
Why haven't
do
we
that.
been talking about that for the last hour?
So how did you get into skydiving competitively, and do you take any inspiration from your own adventures into your work?
So the skydiving thing. So believe it or not, I'm terrified of heights.
I don't believe it. That sounds like a lie.
No.
Really,
It's true. I can't drive on like high mountain roads. Just blah. I can't handle it. Actually, it's less that I'm afraid of the heights because like planes don't bother me. I'm afraid of hitting the ground really hard. So you would think the skydiving would be out. And what it was in college, I started dating a guy who was on the Texas A&M skydiving team. And that's all he and his friends talked about. And that's all they did all weekend. And so I was like, I should at least try this once. And I did it for my 21st birthday, just once to try it and scare the crap out of myself. And then, that'll be it. And at least then they can stop bugging me constantly about jumping out of airplanes. And then it turned out that I am a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And it turned into that was my group of friends. And that's what I did every weekend. But because it was the A&M skydiving team, I got into the competitive side, and I did formation skydiving where you're on a team with between 4 and 8 other people, and you do formations, but you do it in time. So in 1 minute, you do them over and over and over, and each formation is a point. So your goal is to get as many points as possible in the amount of time that you have. And so doing that in 3D while moving parts is so much fun, and I miss it. I gave it up when I had baby number 1 and was like, okay, I have to drive a car. I don't have to jump out of an airplane. But as soon as those kids are pumped off to college, I am out of an airplane again. So.
You did it to shut your boyfriend up, and then you became a monster. Is this the story that we're?
Yeah. It turned out I was pretty good at it. I like to say that I was better than he was at it. I don't think he would agree with that. He and I are stuck.
I don't even know. Competitive. What? Like you trash talk each other in the plane. I'm going to get down first. No, I'm going to get down first. Let's race. And that is so cool. I don't understand why we haven't been talking about that for an hour.
Oh, I have a picture somewhere in here.
Oh, come here.
Oh, goodness.
We're going to walk on our treadmill and right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
That is me.
That is cool.
And that's my friend Amber coming out of the plane.
Oh, my goodness. See, when I hear the phrase competitive skydiving, it more means like you won't die.
Right? Yeah, I'm like,
You win.
Sky battle.
I'm alive. I win at skydiving.
Well, when it's blue skies, and it's blue skies today, it's a blue sky Saturday, I'm like, I like jumping out of a plane right now. Smell the ozone. Oh, so good. Yeah.
But I don't want to go up in this 3rd story elevator.
No, I don't like elevators either. They weed me out.
That does not make sense.
It does though, because with skydiving, at least once, and when I was skydiving, I didn't like to sit next to the door of the plane. And my teammates would always tease me because they'd be like, you have a parachute and you know what to do if you fall out, and you don't ever fall out. And some people have to kind of push you out. And I would be like, no, I would rather it be a conscious decision that I jump out of this thing. But it's more like once you're out of the air, it's not a roller coaster feeling at all. You have to be afraid of falling at a map, essentially, because it's just, it almost feels like you're floating.
Really?
Relative to you going by to make it feel like you're going fast. It's just loud.
Huh.
So it's different, and I do incorporate it into my writing. And it's especially been handy for the dragon shifters, believe it or not, because I understand what it feels like to be in the air, and how air influences what things you have to do with your body to do certain maneuvers in the air, what it sounds like in the air, what it smells like, and what going through clouds feels like physically at that speed. So it's helped a lot with the dragon shifters. And I also wrote a contemporary that was a skydiver, but that one hasn't been picked up by anybody yet. So I've been told that what is it? Not adventure sports, like X Sports, X Games style sports.
Oh, extreme stuff?
Yeah, extreme sports don't sell.
Oh, weird. Really?
That's what I have been told. Probably what they mean is the particular book is crap.
I would read that. I would want to do it myself.
Right.
Which would make me want to read it, because then I could experience it without actually going anywhere
doing it.
Well, it's time for you to invent a subgenre then.
Yeah, go do my skydiving books. Well, and if you want to experience it yourself and you don't want to jump out of the plane, which I think everybody should at some point in their life just for the experience, go to a wind tunnel and do that, because it gives you the same sensation.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. So next question is, Amanda, you recently announced that you're working on the next book in the Kingmaker Chronicles. We are so excited because we love these books. Can you tell us a bit about what is coming next?
Well, so the next book will be about 2 of the secondary characters from the original trilogy. So for anyone who's already read them, that's Flynn and Jocasta.
Yes.
And the reason I chose them is because, well, they're really a part of the core group of the original trilogy. So we have a lot of them in the other books, and their story and romance was really evolving already throughout the original trilogy that focuses on Kat and Griffin. And so the next logical step was to start with them, because they're already all set up and ready to have their story told. So that I'm about halfway through writing that now. First draft. I mean, we've still got some work to do. But I'm really excited about it. And I love seeing them because they're both very determined to do things separately. So getting them together is a challenge, and they have this, it's almost, I'm going to describe it as unrequited love that's actually requited, only they don't know that yet. So so it's really complicated, and there's a lot of angst, but the good angst, you know. And of course, there's going to be a big, save the world adventure type thing, because what would one of my books be without a save the world adventure? So I'm going to incorporate all the, the action and the battles and the.
Otherwise, all they do is just go get coffee and
bang.
It's really hard to catch up 300 pages.
My stories are usually quest-based, so there'll be a quest, a mission to accomplish. And those 2 will have to accomplish it. And in the meantime, of course, there's the romance that builds and builds and builds.
I can't wait.
I was loving her friendship with Kat and how they were building kind of there. So I'm hoping to see some more of that, because I love the girl power happening.
Yeah, that's really important to me, to have strong female relationships or strong platonic relationships, because in Night Chaser, it's Tess and her friend Jax. It's a platonic relationship, and also with the other characters too. I love having strong friendships, and the friendship between Kat and Jocasta that grows was really special too, because it helped build Kat as a character, and it helped us get to know Jocasta, because I wanted to, bring her into her own story eventually. And of course, the romance is super important, and you've got your plot and all the stuff going on. But to have a quieter moment where you have these, like you said, it's girl power. Even if they're not doing something, fantastic or spectacular, it's a moment of connection in a platonic relationship. And I think that's so important to building the characters in any story.
Yeah. Perfect. All right.
All right, and MaryJanice, I absolutely loved your unique spin on shifters and bears behaving badly. The shifters versus the stables concept, that like a stable is either a human or an animal, so long as they don't shift. How the animals kind of blend together when they're exemplified in the shifters. It's also cool and different. How did you come up with these different spins on shifters than what we typically read?
The shifters and stable thing, it's kind of funny because shifters actually feel bad for stables. Stables are considered locked into one shape. So it's almost like, so people don't think of them as being flexible. Basically, it's poor you. You're always a biped, a semi-hairless biped. And but for me, I always take a cliche or a trope and I try to turn it on its head. With Betsy the Vampire Queen, it's where are the secretary vampires? With Fred the Mermaid, it's where are the grouchy mermaids? Why are they all helpful and sweet with a terrific rack and, love to sing? And, where are the bitchy mermaids? Because I just refuse to believe there are none out there in any world. And when I did a story about fairies, I made my fairies 6 feet tall and muscular and really, really good at numbers. So they're actually like CEOs and accountants because, they don't have to be flitting around and delicate and little and Tinkerbell for adults. So it was basically what happens to kid shifters when they're in trouble. They can't go to what do we do? How is that handled? I mean, there's a dark web. There's literally a black market for cheese. So I liked the idea of like a hidden dark world of social services. Because really, the social services can be a dark, bureaucratic morass anyway. And so, yeah, it's like I said, I just take the trope and I turn it upside down. And that works great for me, and my readers really like it. So
I love that.
I love that.
Well, we have established that I'm terrific.
It's crazy as an ocelot, right?
Amanda and Abigail, there's just one thing we'd like to change going forward for other podcasts.
Well, that is all the time that we have for questions today, you guys. Thank you, ladies, so much for spending this past hour with us and laughing with us. This has been such a fun time talking. So I have to listen back to see what some of the conversations we actually had. But
we're giving away books. We're giving away books, right?
We are. We have those running on our social media pages. So if you guys would like to check those out, go ahead and check. We have things going on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and how to enter on those. And we will be announcing the winners. Usually we wait until Monday just so everybody has time to see with the different time zones. Everyone is saying thank y'all for coming in. So thank you guys for coming to chat with us. This will be on YouTube later for our friends in different time zones, in case you had to miss out. And we will be posting links on how to buy or pre-order all of these wonderful books that we've talked about right now. Do yourself a favor and start jumping on these books, on these authors, because they're all so amazing. And thank you again, ladies, for being a part today.
Thank you for your strong
That was so fun.
It was fun. Thank y'all.
Nice to meet you guys.